This next section is a roundtable discussion with industry experts on everything ELD. While you're out there on the road, you can listen to them talk about what's coming up, what problems it creates, and what you can do to become as efficient as possible.
So we're about 6 months away from this ELD mandate, and although I know our fleet is 100% compliant, how do we reach those guys, those small operators, help them understand what they're faced with, and then illustrate the solution as we've navigated it?
Yeah, I think the big thing that we've heard from the smaller folks that we've talked to about if they're even aware of the coming mandate, and we found in a lot of cases that that's not true. They don't know. That surprises me because it's been everywhere, but I think that just goes to demonstrate how fragmented we are as an industry, and even though this is one of the biggest things that's come in terms of change, that there's a lot of folks that are unaware of it. So it'll be interesting to see how we can reach those folks and sort of bring them into the fold.
They don't realize we're already in phase one. I mean, they passed it in December 2015. We're in phase one. Right now is the become compliant phase, because December 18th, 2017 is when it's full go. That's phase two. I mean, we're already in it. It's not getting retracted because we're already in phase one.
And Trish, from a compliance standpoint, when you see it, what we go through on a daily basis to be electronically compliant in hours of service and to optimize our network. So when you look at these smaller fleets that may not have even a platform, a dispatch software platform, how do you envision them trying to adopt and survive in this?
For me, that would be the biggest concern, because it took us so long, and we immediately purchased the software that we needed in order to have visibility inside. We immediately started training our people to understand what are hours of service, how they impact people, working on the culture shift, all of that. And it took us well over 3 years to start getting back to those numbers, and then this last year trying to hit that 98% that we did. If they don't start investing now and the time that it's going to take, that is kind of concerning to me.
From a small fleet perspective too, or even big fleets, when the first round of eLog implementations happened among some of our competitors, the stories that I would hear from guys that came to us was that they just threw this eLog in the truck and expected everything to happen like it normally happened. There was no training on the other end. There was no visibility of hours on the other end, which is something that you had the foresight to get involved with quickly, and that's what made our transition smoother. These other guys experienced horror stories.
So when we went into eLogs with the add-on systems and the virtual hours of service, you're right, we kind of had not a head start, but we were apt and prone to adopt that type of mentality.
Yeah, we've invested in tools that will help us to go out and find those and optimize where do we relay, who has the hours to actually make it happen after we do the relay, because all the work we did before, it was easy to pull out a map and see who's going to cross pass and have them switch it out and go on and do it. But now you have to know, okay, how long till they get there, how many hours waiting, because that impacts their hours, and then after they swap, do they have the hours to take it on?
And then the other variable, will the driver do it? Because the days of forced dispatch, as we know, are long gone. And so I see a lot of cases.
Main questions when drivers call in and want to ask about your program: is it forced dispatch, or where do I run and is it forced dispatch? So there's a lot of concern about what they're going to do. They want to find out what they're going to do before they're here, and if that's something they don't want to do, they want to be able to say no.
The other interesting thing about drivers contacting us about how our system works and what they're really interested to know is the forced dispatch aspect of it, the choice of loads. But one of the positives that come out of it, I think another thing that we need to be able to communicate and hopefully get people to understand, is the benefit to the driver. These guys that are now late adopters and aren't going to want to do this, is what are the positives to them? That they know they're getting their rest breaks. They can count on that. They know we know that they're on a rest break and they're not going to be bothered during that time. And so some of those things I think are very important too.
Then the next choice for me as an operator is, well, I want to find a company who's versed at this, who's not only versed at it, but is an expert and has succeeded in that realm. And I think that's where JCT, has that record, that track record, sustainability, performance, service recognition. And those are all the things we sell on a daily basis in recruiting. But that's the message that we need to get out to the small and independent operator, to know that this is a viable option for him.
Well, and we're operating in the refrigerated industry where 20% are eLog compliant. So we're already under that strict time management, and yet we're Walmart's top 12 carriers of the year. So we're able to manage our time so well that we're beating out people who are still on paper logs, able to fudge their numbers and get extra hours and get extra miles. And we're able to perform at a higher level on eLog. So I think that's a testament to where if they get plugged into our network, we can really help them keep moving with the lane density, with our trailer pools and all of those. Sure. You know, help mitigate the loss that they're ultimately going to take from switching from paper to eLogs.
We were an 800 truck fleet that converted at that time. And when you think about now, I don't know if there's an 800 truck fleet out there that hasn't already converted, but there's a lot of 8 truck fleets and 1 truck operators that haven't converted. We know that. That's the unknown variable in this equation that I think, you know, if we can reach out and contact and communicate and establish a narrative with that group, then we can be that aggregator of capacity into our space and really be a solution for these guys.
Well, and I was going to ask about that. So we're 6 months out, and we're not seeing a huge number of people becoming eLog compliant from, you know, whatever metrics we're looking at. Do you think that's something they're not familiar, whether it's, you know, FMCSA putting this off for so long and it's finally happened, they don't believe it's happening, or do you think it's they know what's coming, but they're just going to wait till the last minute anyway? Which you think it's a mix of both?
I would say it's predominantly the fact that it's going to impact their business and their ability to be on time and be profitable and be productive.
Absolutely. I think you're right. They're going to, and I think that's just the way they're used to operating. I mean, it's how they've approached everything as they've become that small owner operator. Mm-hmm. They're kind of flying by the seat of their pants, and the way that they address a need for additional revenue is they just run some extra miles, and that's the way they can do it. And it might not even be a choice. It may be that's the only option they have, is to go until they can't go anymore.
I think they're avoiding a solution because right now the most obvious solution would be to become a company driver for somebody else or lease on, and I think that's another area that we succeed very well at, in recognizing our drivers as operators and as business owners and working to make them successful, not to make simply JCT successful, but to recognize their business and their opportunities.
Well, and at this point, it's the implementation of your eLog device is proven to make your company have a better safety score, because you're able to see those hours, you're not forcing people to run over. So I think in the long run, especially with us, I mean, it's made us just as efficient, if not more so, than we were before. And we have more visibility, and we know we have a better understanding more exactly where our drivers are at any given time, whereas before it was kind of a shot in the dark. He said he had the hours, he's running there, that's where he is now. So I think we've done probably a really good job, obviously in our space, of making, you know, turning it to our advantage.
You know, as we sit here and discuss this, it almost kind of, I'm reverse engineering this of all the reasons why an operator would want to be on with JCT, and maybe one of the only hindrances to him may have been electronic logs. Sure. And now that option is eliminated to run on paper logs still.
You're doing it wherever you go.
Yeah, you're going to be forced to do it regardless whether you're on with a 1 truck solo operator or you're part of a 1,000 truck fleet like JCT. I mean, then the incentive to do so is much greater, as you know, you don't have now that option to run on paper logs.
Well, and you get the ability to tap into a company's resources without having to dissolve your company. I mean, you still have your autonomy, you're still a business owner. So you get to operate your business, but you're with the help and resources of a larger company. So it's a partnership. It's not a you're an employee working for a company. We're working together to get the job done, which is a big job, and takes a lot of people and time, but we get it done somehow.
I think the best thing, you know, that we can do is expose this narrative and these discussions, you know, to the motoring community, and certainly to the small operator groups, and then try to you know, continue to educate them and illustrate what challenges they're going to have, and then you know, voice our solutions and start that dialogue with them to say, yeah, this is challenging, but let me show you how to solve this challenge in a quick way, and that's by leasing on with JCT.